Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, people of all ages, welcome back to the Sticky Floors podcast. I am one of your hosts, CJ. I am joined by Mr. Will. Tonight, we are talking about the program. We're talking about college football in America. We are right on the eve of football season about to start, and college football season is about to kick off for real this weekend. If for those of you who've been listeners in the past, last year we did any given Sunday right around this time, so that was our sort of kickoff for football. Me and Mr. Will are both avid football fans, so movies like this really resonate with us. So we're gonna have some fun talking about this tonight. Mr. Will, how are you doing this evening?
Man, I'm doing real well, real well. What's going on with you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm looking forward to talking about this one, man. I remember my experience seeing this in the movie theaters, and I've probably seen it once, maybe twice since then, since it came out in 1993. So not a whole
Really?
bunch of times, but I really enjoyed coming back to it because, like,
Hmm.
my first experience was, being young and then seeing it. Now I get to see it as an old man, so it's a little bit different
Old
now.
man.
It's a little bit different now. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, man, it's good stuff, man. So I'm looking forward to us getting into it and talking about all the different angles of it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Same here. Um, well, minus the whole watching it, maybe what you said two times in the past 20
Yeah,
years.
yeah,
So,
2 or 3 times.
yeah, no, man. I've probably seen this maybe about a good dozen, 10, yeah, 10 to
Oh, so
12.
you're deep in
Yeah,
this. You're vested in
yeah,
the story. Okay,
yeah,
all right.
yeah. No, and I just want to say, like, the reason for it though is because it's that nostalgia of when I played football and when I was like, really adamant, like, like really thinking I had aspirations
Yeah.
of like doing something in that field.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so it was like a almost like a hallmark for me.
Yeah, I remember those times. I remember
Yeah.
those times.
Oh yeah, man. But let's get into it, man. Let's get this thing jump off, man.
Let's do it.
All right. So, ladies and gents, thank you for coming back, listening to the Sticky Floors podcast. Again, please like, subscribe, leave comments because as CJ always reminds you guys, this helps us to get better and to give you the commentary on the movies you like. So we're very much open to any and all suggestions for potential movies to review in the future.
No doubt.
With that said, the program delves deeply into the multifaceted world of college football, exploring themes of masculinity, camaraderie, and athletic prowess. Set against the backdrop of a major university, the narrative captures the raw competitive spirit of the game while highlighting issues like social and economic divisions, as well as racism and institutionalism. The film follows players from diverse backgrounds grappling with the immense pressure of maintaining their athletic performance and commitment to the team. Here, the underdog story unfolds with characters making significant sacrifices, from the star quarterback entering rehab to the defensive hero suffering a career ending injury.
Yeah, there it is, man. Yeah. Like I remember seeing this movie. I said I saw this in the movie theater, like
Yeah.
1993. At the time, I was in high school playing high school football, and this was like the first movie that I remember really kind of talking about this time of your life. Like,
Mhm.
there's been movies about college, obviously,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but like, and there's actually been movies about college basketball. Like, there's been like Blue Chips and things
Yeah.
like that were based in that time. But like this time with football, college football was. I kind of use this movie as like a, if I went to college and played football, is this what it would really look like?
Mm.
And the thing that was crazy was like when I did go to college and did play football, it was some of this was matched up and some of it didn't because some of it is just, a little bit too dramatic. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
always thought like the movie kind of generally hung up, like held up. And then as I go back and look at it now, old as an older person, as an old man, it also I see like there's actually a lot of storylines that they tried to put in it. Like I
Mm.
think at the time when I was young, it was just like, oh, football. But now but now it's like, oh, academics, oh, exploitation, oh, colorism. Like it's all these other things in it. So
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting to watch those things now, man. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. I know we got like a lot of cultural things that we pulled out of this, man. So let's jump into it.
Yeah. No, because this was very fertile ground, you know what I'm saying? Like just pick like just that time frame itself. Like 1993, you got Steven Spielberg, and he's directing two movies in that same year, which is not a normal thing during that period of time. And both of them were pretty much, groundbreaking. You got Jurassic Park,
Yep.
which, that scared me in the theaters, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
Like, I actually thought those dinosaurs were real. Um, and then, even though it was just a screed or whatever, ain't no dinosaur coming to get you. And then, at the same time, he's dropping Schindler's List,
Right.
won
Shots, yeah.
won a couple of
Almost, yeah.
awards, and that's a slight understatement with a couple. But they contrast so differently, different styles, different motifs, different genres, entirely different casts, going for totally different directions. But he was able to pull it off masterfully, and I think that was really what cemented him. I use that as the backdrop to say, like, then you got a bunch of other flicks that come out around that time too, where you got Carlito's Way, Bronx Tale,
Mhm.
Falling Down, Pelican
Movies
Brief,
right there, man.
yeah, The Firm. I mean, like, you're talking about bangers that during that period. So, you know,
Absolutely.
releasing any type of sports movie during that period, you're thinking it has to have some type of gravitas and
Mhm.
some type of serious tone in order to even compete in that type of market. And I
Absolutely.
mean, I didn't even list the remaining 10 quality movies. Of course, there was a bunch of trash during that period. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to look back on the past with rose-colored glasses. But there were a lot of quality movies where
Mhm.
you have a young Harrison Ford or middle-aged Harrison Ford doing his own stunts in The Fugitive. You have
Oh
Mario,
yeah, Fugitive, very good movie. Yeah, I
you
remember.
have Mario Van Peebles doing his own stunts in Posse. So when you have a
Mhm.
football movie, these guys are clamoring to find actual athletes at the very least, or preferably, which is the case with Alvin Mack's character. Excuse me, Duane Davis, who played Alvin Mack. Him
Yeah.
actually being a linebacker at Missouri. So he actually knew how to play, and Craig Sheffer getting the job because he could actually throw a ball. So those things like provide some context as to why this movie is like that.
Yeah, it's so interesting how when sports movies are done, how often they have to find an actor who can actually do the things. Like we take it for granted, like anybody can throw a football, shoot a basketball, hit a
Yeah,
baseball. A lot of people can't. And
no,
like you can't if you can't look like you can do that,
yeah,
it's not something that you can just pretend to do as an actor.
no, no.
So it's like it's interesting because like I remember even back with Any Given Sunday,
Uh huh.
I think
Uh
like at
huh.
one time they wanted like Puffy to be the
Yes.
Willie Beeman character, but he couldn't throw a football, right? So that's how they did it with Jamie Foxx. So it's like just you see like that kind of stuff. So that's a good point too.
Yeah. So with that being said, though, you've got this movie that comes out, like you mentioned. It was about college life. There hadn't been. I can't think of a movie off the top of my head that dealt with collegiate athletes during the prime season of football, like
Yeah.
during
I don't
that
remember
season.
it either. Yeah.
Like, I can't think of it. Like, it dropped during amongst that period,
Mhm.
where
It was
college football. Yeah,
perfectly in the middle of
yeah.
football season.
And I can't think off the top of my head. Like, I'm really thinking about it. And even the sports related movies that came out during that period, you had Rudy, which is totally against the grain from
Yeah.
this movie. You have also the Sandlot, which is more about baseball. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
it was adolescent kids, and it was kind of like
Yeah.
maybe like
It's not like the
Charlie Brown meets um, what's the joint with Alfalfa in them? I forget their girl group's name, but
Rugrats or something like that.
yeah, something like that. Nonetheless, and then you had the Gridiron Gang, which was more about still juveniles who
Yeah.
are like, Sandlot, pickup football type stuff. But this is totally different. And this isn't like Cool Runnings, which also came during that period of time either,
Mhm.
even though that too was kind of unheard of. What? A Jamaican bobsled team?
Yeah.
You
But that
know,
was also based on a true story though, right? So that
well,
wasn't that
that's what
based on like the story of like the Jamaican bobsledding team? Like that was a real I thought that was a true story.
No, I thought they had a bobsled team too, and based upon them being sprinters, and this guy thinking that they would make the best bobsledders because they could get out of the box and out of the stacks quickly. But with that said, here you have this movie, which again takes guys who have an athletic background who go on to be in other athletic movies. Like Unnecessary Roughness came out before this. Alvin Mack is Stonehands in that movie. He played a wide
Right.
receiver. What you call it? Latimer is in that movie And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I remember
Bud Kaminsky, the offensive lineman who's singing "Get Along Doggies."
that.
He's in that movie as well. So like you see, like these guys are very familiar with one another, which is going to be key because when they're doing their own stunts, they're not going to try and hurt each other. Like they actually went to camp, just like uh what you call it, any given Sunday. Like they actually threw on the pads, went
Yeah,
through the choreography. They actually had NFL players who told them where to go, what position, choreographing plays, et cetera, et cetera. In fact, to the point where that part where Joe is bending his head back and you think it's going to snap off in that yard run,
yeah. When
and
he
he
gets
lands,
tackled in the end
yeah, when
zone,
he gets
yeah, in the
tackled,
beginning.
and even the 360 joint, he did them joint. He did those things, um, and so they were really like, hey, take it easy. We need you for the rest of the film. Like you're a star in the movie. We don't want to lose you to an accident because you want to do your own stunts.
Right.
Um, so like that scene where he's bobbling the football, um, like when he throws it to Darnell in the end zone for the touchdown, the game-winning play.
Mhm.
That wasn't him. That was another guy because he was still recuperating off of that injury in the end zone.
Got it.
So it's just little
Got it.
tidbits like that that help to give this movie some substance, some meat and potatoes.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. I thought that this movie had so many just little kind of interesting points to it.
Yeah.
One of the things is the way that the program, so the main character in some ways is the program, right?
Yes.
And the program, it advances and exploits everybody in it.
Mm,
Like the coaches are a part of it. Yeah, they get prominence, they get paid, but they're also under constant pressure from boosters and the school. And even for the head coach, he's got to make concessions about letting somebody back on the team that essentially got his daughter kicked out of the school, right? But he's got to do that for the program. And it's like when Joe Kane gets in trouble, after the fight and with the alcoholism, he has to go to rehab to protect the program, right?
for 4 weeks.
It's all about the program. Or like, Alvin Mack, can't read, right? But like
I
he's
could read
allowed,
at a fourth grade level.
right? He's allowed to advance through college because he's really valuable to the program. You know what I'm
Dexter
saying? And it's
Manley.
like, and the thing is that that's a real thing. Like all of that, that's real. Like,
Hmm.
and it's not even that's not even just real in the college sense. In high school, a lot of that same things happen. Like people are pushed along academically, people are given fifth, sixth, eighth chances after they make mistakes because they run a 4.4, or because they're 6'2" and 215, because they're an outside linebacker and they're fantastic. There's nothing that out of that that's outside the ordinary, and I always appreciated that the movie kinda highlighted those things.
Yeah, that gives it the authenticity that
Yeah.
a lot of people demand in when they go to the movies. And I think the fact that you touched upon something is as significant as the academic scandals, for example, where you know. Um, I think you might remember him. I think he played for either Tennessee or Mississippi, one of the southern schools. Um, uh, Black quarterback. I want to say last name is Boyd. Uh,
Taj Boyd.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think you remember where I'm going with this, where he is being interviewed by ESPN.
Oh,
Um,
in the lock, yeah,
yeah,
in his dorm room with
yeah,
the
and
girls,
I
yeah.
think
I remember that, yep.
yeah, and I think that this movie was its predecessor, setting you up for that scene because Alvin goes on to say, "Look, they'll push you through. You know what I mean? Like the program, they'll find a way." And then Lattimore says, "Yeah, you know what? I failed that joint my entrance exam 4 times, and they literally give Alvin the what you call it,
The
the
exam, yeah,
test. He just has to read it."
yeah,
And then they tease him, back and forth that he can't read or whatever. But the point is that if you are valuable, like you're mentioning, they will find a way for you. Now, some of these individuals, they go on to actually understand, like, hey, what happens if I no longer have football? And Alvin, unfortunately, foreshadowed that when he gave his mother the doorknob. It reminded me of um, Booby Collins in Friday Night Lights or Friday.
I
What's
remember,
the
yeah,
Texas joint?
Friday Night Lights, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Friday
Friday
Night
Night
Lights.
Lights, yeah,
Yeah, like he's the tragic hero in all this because this was his one shot, and then it was taken away from him due to injury, and he didn't have a plan B or C or D or E or F.
yeah,
And now he feels as if he let his entire family down. It was bigger than just him. This
yeah.
is a way to get everybody out.
Absolutely, yeah. And before we go on, I just want to say, like, Yo, Taj Boy, shout out to Taj Boy. We don't know if we're not saying that you didn't do your schoolwork. That's not what we're saying. We're just thinking about that scene. So just put that disclaimer on there. But nah, like
Allegedly.
yeah, the Alvin Max thing, that is like the cautionary tale in the whole movie
Yes.
because they set it up. Like he doesn't have a lot of screen time, the actor or that particular story, but it resonates because like you know that he's going to essentially use football to lift his family out of
Mhm.
poverty, right? And there's so many stories where people have been able to successfully do that that you forget about the fact that there's a lot more Alvin Max than there are the opposite.
Oh
There's
yeah,
a lot of
definitely.
people who don't get to the NFL, who suffer a tremendous injury and can't really play at that same level, than the opposite. So so it's like there is this cautionary tale in this movie of like this is why you have to use college as the opportunity to actually learn something
Mm.
because maybe you go to the NFL, but if not, what's your next best move going to be? And it's like funny, like if you sit down now and you watch college football, there will always be commercials about how
Mm.
people are going professional as like lawyers or doctors or veterinarians, all those things. And all that is really to say, even if you go to school to play sports, you better learn something because if not, you're going to be SOL when this is over.
Yeah, the thing is to me, those messages are disingenuous. It's almost like
Why is that?
who you kidding, man? You may like they talked about a bowl game, and remember, we went to school with guys who played. We've hung out with guys who played at major programs, and they would talk about, yeah, we get a cut, but it's nothing along the lines of these 8 million, 10 million purses that they're getting for us to go to these bowl games.
Absolutely
Yeah,
not.
yeah, we like flying. Yeah, we like getting on the bus rides and the exposure, and if we do well, it could help boost our draft stock. But no, those schools get definitive checks that they can go home and they have something tangible in their hands.
Yeah.
You're dealing with what ifs and could haves and should haves and perhaps maybe, like I always tell people, potential gets coaches fired. So we got to remember when you try to profiteer and off of a game, a kid's game, like Warren Sapp, we play a kid's game for King's Ransom, and literally these individuals, and this is what I hate about the NCAA, and I don't want to seem like it's going on a tangent, but the relevancy is to this movie where, you know, every ill within that exists within the NCAA and collegiate sports is demonstrated in a character in this movie. We just happen to be focusing on Alvin Mack right now with respect to getting pushed through a la Dexter Manley, and not being able to read or read at a below grade level um, means, manner, or whatever have you.
Yeah, you're
But
determined to name names, aren't you? You're
this is
determined to
public.
do that.
It's
You're
public
determined to
record.
do that.
It's public record. It's public record. He put his business out there.
I got you. I got you. True.
So,
True indeed. True indeed. True indeed.
and he did that, so you don't have to do that, you kids. Um,
It's
so
like
with that,
Hove. Hove
yeah, no
did
doubt.
that, so hopefully you wouldn't have to.
So nonetheless, I just use it for what it is, which is a cautionary tale, as you spoke of what
Yeah.
not to do, because a lot of these individuals that they're portraying in this movie, they come from broken homes. Joe's dad is an alcoholic as well.
Yep.
And, you know, we all know that alcoholism can be hereditary. A la Ben Affleck went on to say how his father was an athlete. Yes, I'm continuing the trend. Went
Because it's
on to,
documented.
it's documented. I'm not breaking any ground here.
I got dude.
Goes on to say like how he unfortunately inherited that from his father and the rest of his family. And then in turn, dude's about to get divorced for a second time. You know what I mean? Like, kind of is what it is. I just say that to say that nothing becomes of Joe and his father. That relationship becomes severed because he tells him, if you don't come,
Yeah.
I'm never going to ask you ever again.
Yeah.
And Joe succumbing to the pressures of the Heisman Trophy candidacy all stems from the fact that he didn't have a support system which kept him grounded. And then when he finally found arguably the most heartwarming character in the movie, which it's not lost upon me of her physical attributes and such, because she was coming off of posing nude in Playboy. Um, you know,
Man, you really
she,
do. I didn't know that.
yeah. So
That's
it's just
interesting.
it's just looking at like, wow, he's looking at her skeptically because he's like, yo, I don't know if you're here for me because now all of a sudden, I'm this Heisman Trophy candidate and you play a sport which is usually typically stereotypically played by snobbish people, rich people, uppity people, snooty people.
She's a
And
dude.
that was one of the things
Yeah.
he said to her, like, you know, "Oh, you're just here driving daddy's fancy car." And she was like, "No, I'm here on scholarship." And he's like, "Oh, so you're like me." So that was the common ground.
Yeah.
But she actually was more grounded in reality as far as how to maneuver the ebbs and flows of being, successful 1 minute and then on the decline due to an injury on her own. I mean, that's how we met her in rehab,
Yeah.
trying to work out her knee within the confines of the gym. That excuse me, yeah, no, it was a gym, right?
Yeah, it was. They were in the weight room. But
Yeah, wait,
the one thing that I will go back and say is that I'm not one of these people that believes that college athletics are inherently taking advantage of or exploiting kids because of how much money they're making from it.
really,
And I'm not. I've never been a believer in that. And the reason why is because I think that like what you're really being given, if you're given a scholarship to anywhere, what you're really being given is an opportunity.
mm,
And that opportunity is not just to become a professional athlete. It's to make lifelong friends. It's to have experiences that you might not ever have. It's
mm,
to get to go places, to have entree with extremely intelligent people that you may not ever get a chance to be around. It's to be in lecture halls where people that are known the world over are going to come in and they're going to talk about things that you may have never heard anywhere else.
mm.
It's so much more than that. And I don't know how you quantify that part of it. And I think that like, when we reduce things down to dollars and cents and this thing costs this much, that kind of equation, I think it robs the value of the experience from people because like 95% of the people that get scholarships to go to college never become pros in that thing that
Right.
they're in. So those 95%, they have to be able to read. They have to be able to go to class. They have to like they become friends with people. They join fraternities and sororities. They discover their passion. And all these things happen. That opportunity they're given that opportunity because they can hit a tennis ball or a baseball or run fast, whatever the case may be. But I just think that it's more of a give and take than an exploitation in that way. And it's ironic because now, obviously, with college football, you're in the time of NIL, right?
Hmm.
Name, image, and likeness. So it's like people can bounce around so much. You literally have players. I'm at one place, my NIL deal could be bigger here. So now, freshman year I was at this school, sophomore year I'm somewhere else, junior year I can be somewhere else, and that's perfectly okay. Do your thing, get your money. But I don't think that the purpose of going to college was ever to try to make money. In
Well,
that sense, in that sense.
nothing should have been brought about as far as money and sponsorships and things. Everything should be free. Then we could really talk about true balance. Because the idea of being a student athlete with the restrictions and limitations that are imposed upon them is ridiculous. Mean to tell me, like the famous Chris Webber story, I can't even afford my jersey. I can't even afford a sandwich, a chicken sandwich, but this little kid is rocking my jersey. The Nike Forces that came out, that everybody saw them in or whatever have you, that have been retroed just recently last year.
Yep.
You mean to tell me that they don't get a cut of that? Nike black socks that never came out before these dudes are rocking them. You mean to tell me they don't get a cut of that? You mean like it's just the hypocrisy runs so deep, even to the point of if they wanted to be in a football game, the NCAA had their own game and they would get a cut of those profit sharing, and literally the students wouldn't get anything. So
Yeah.
literally, you're playing me and you're playing me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that
Yeah.
that concept was wild to me. I don't care how much you were paying in tuition. My time is invaluable. I'll never get compensated enough.
But there's a couple things with that. One, like when EA Sports did that with the game, like
Hmm.
yeah, that's the EA college. That's a company. So
Hmm.
that's a company that made a deal with the NCAA, right? Your school is a part of the NCAA. That's still a trickle down from that. And now, ironically enough, with the new college football game that came out,
Hmm.
they had to send the game to everybody, and I think
Yep.
everybody got like $100 for being in the game. I just think like I just think that the purpose of college is to get the education. Like that's, like any system, any game, you're always going to lose if you're playing by the rules of the system,
Hmm.
just how it's confined. So if you go there and you think it's like in the Alvin Mack case, football or whatever happens to him after this, if that's the dichotomy you created for yourself, that's on you.
Hmm.
Because and I think this is where the movie is so effective. Like, and you alluded to yourself. At the end of it, they get back on the recruiting trail and they like, yo, we gotta get somebody to replace Latimer.
Yep.
We gotta get somebody to replace Alvin Matt. Because that's also the thing. Like this movie, and this is the kind of like getting into one of my points here. College sports, and I don't know if everything does it, but football definitely teaches you this, is like a zero sum game.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
if you're good, you play. If you're not, they recruit somebody else to take your position.
Hmm.
And if you can't beat that person out, you won't play anymore.
Yep.
And that's the lesson that you have to learn. And the thing that makes a lesson so beautiful and so pure is that everybody that's goes to the college, like Darnell Jefferson, like one of the blackest names of all time, everyone goes through that experience he went. You were the man in high school.
Hmm.
Now you get to go to college and you're not the man no more. You
Yeah.
got to prove that you're the man. And if you fail to prove that you're the man, rest assured they will bring another person in to prove to you that you're not the man no more.
No, that reminds me of the story of one of our friends where they were like, everyone's in the room and they're spouting off their credentials. I was all American. I was parade all American. This, that, and the third. And
Right.
after a while, you start to recognize you ain't so special anymore because everybody's got the same accolades.
Everybody's
And
good.
so, with that being said, Joe, who's the struggling star quarterback with the Heisman candidacy behind,
Mhm.
behind the glitz and the glamour, he's struggling with what they would term now as mental health. Back then, they would just
Yes.
say,
Yeah.
hey, just deal with it. You can't deal with the pressure, you choke, and
Yeah.
that would have been it. We come from the old school of thought where, and I'm not glamorizing this in any way whatsoever, where water was literally a privilege. Like you'd be in practice, and the coaches would be like, "You ain't gonna get any water if you don't do this,"
Yeah.
or "All
It's
right, now
different.
you can." Yeah, it was different. Then
It's
all of a sudden,
different
then
times. Yeah.
then all of a sudden, people started, having unfortunate accidents and
Hmm.
incidents, and some even fatalities.
Yeah.
God rest their soul. And then, you're dealing with a whole another set of issues. But it has to tell you that CTE is very real. Like for
Yeah.
someone to have that
And this
mentality.
predates that. This even
Oh,
predates that thing. And that's the thing. And I know like this was something that I talked about with you earlier. I think that this movie needs a remake.
oh yeah,
Like the program with so many of the things that have changed with like the advent of social media, the advent of NIL, the way that the game is looked at differently now. I think that there's so much more you could do with this movie. And
yeah.
there's storylines in here, like even like you said, even the story with like Joe Kane, that could have very easily be modernized to a story about how a person deals with like pressure,
Mm.
stress, anxiety, other things that might be in the field of like your general mental health. Those are very relevant stories. This movie like starts to get into it, but yeah, this could definitely be modernized to 2024 standards.
Well, see, that's the thing too about this movie as well, because this is the football equivalent of Blue Chips, and I think All
Mm,
American does touch upon some of these issues and elements itself, which is on TV right now
mhm.
with a predominantly black cast. I think that the fact that just the publicity that these guys have received, good or bad, in the case of Joe, where he was plastered all over the place after beating up the guy in the bar, which, mind you, he was defending himself because he was not only harassed, but he
Yeah.
was accosted and assaulted. I mean,
Mhm.
so this whole thing about, hey, you're bringing, this couldn't have happened at the worst time, and then he gets caught with a DWI. He could have always, if he had a good attorney worth his salt, he could have argued that, he was fleeing for his life because these are a bunch of townies in a bar, and it's just the
Yeah.
two of them, and then in turn, they're outnumbered, and God knows what could have happened, all due to a misunderstanding that was unbeknownst to them. Like he could have argued, I'm just staring into space.
Yeah.
I thought I knew the girl, or I'm
But
just looking, and she's looking at me. I
But
didn't
that's
know.
like that reminds me of like that Jay Z line. If I shoot you, I'm brainless. If
Mhm.
you shoot me, you're famous. If I shoot you, I'm brainless. Like he's Joe Kane. He's on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Like you can't even get into that kind of situation
He did say, "I'm
because
not willing. I don't want to talk right now. I'm
oh
trying to
yeah,
do
he
my."
did. He did all that. He did all that. But the thing with the Joe Kane character is like, and like you said, like it's good how the movie does it. He's not actually prepared for the scrutiny of being a Heisman Trophy
No,
candidate. He's actually not prepared for it,
and which is ironic because
and
he
that's what
had
he
the two
struggles with.
advisors that would tell
Yeah,
him
but he's not. But guess what?
they
He's
were
not the
bad.
first person in real life to not be prepared for that level of scrutiny. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like a lot of people have cracked under that pressure, understandably.
yes,
You know, a lot of people crack under the pressure of being the number one draft pick in the
yes.
NFL. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like it happens. You know what I mean? So I get it. You know, I just it's the publicity part of it. Yes, he just wasn't prepared for it to happen.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that happens where it's very demonstrative as far as who can handle the pressure and who can't. So, for example, Darnell, he has nothing,
Yeah.
even though he kids about it. Like, oh, my dad went to jail and da 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 da, and
Yeah.
that ended up not being true. What did happen was he didn't know his father after the age of 12, and then his mother, she succumbed to the pressure, and you know, she kind of just dropped him off. He's actually giving a college acceptance speech, or where he's intending to go at a, for lack of a better term, at an adoption center, like at an orphanage,
Yeah.
with a preacher, or a
Yeah.
priest. And
Oh,
when he gives that speech, you know it's very stereotypical too, which kind of borders on some of the other topics I hope we get into, which is the racial aspect.
yeah.
It's so stereotypical that's
Oh,
like,
it absolutely is. And
it's
that's
like,
I mean, like
really.
his name might as well be Darnell Jerome Jerome Jefferson.
And his nickname is Pookie or Ray Ray. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I
Like,
mean, like, but this and I know, like, you know, I know that you always highlight the cast. I
yeah,
think if Omar Epps doesn't bring a level of sincerity to the
yeah.
role, it easily becomes a stereotype.
Oh yeah,
I
coonish,
didn't know my
clownish.
dad. You know, I wear do rags all the time. You know,
I got
I
Timberland
talk
boots on all the time, baggy
I talk
clothes.
like I talk like the characters from In Living Color. You know, like it was very much like a caricature of a black, like let's create a black athlete for this movie, and that's what happened.
Notice how
And
he
then I
handles the
think
ball.
Omar Epps did something dope with it that at the end you almost forget how much the character is typecast.
Yeah, and I think the thing too that like falls in line with that typecast is even on the field, the way he holds the ball out like a loaf of bread. But
Yeah,
at the same token, they punish him by saying, the coach tells him, look, you got to carry this ball wherever, because if
mhm,
it gets back to me without you, you're going to wish you're
yeah,
not on the team. And by the way, rest in power, James Caan. But the same token is like, did he have to do that to any of the other players when they were rookies, et cetera, et cetera? Like, this could have been a tradition. It could have been a 2 sentence thing, like, oh, remember when he did that to Bobby,
yeah,
or such and such. I think that the thing is, like you mentioned, there is accountability amongst the team itself. Like,
mhm,
hey, we are going to sharpen each other to get each other better. So the guy that he was literally ridiculing to Autumn, like, yeah, I switched up with him so that you could be my tutor. He's the one that hits the ball out from behind him when they're sitting in class. So it's not like he was
was
just,
it Ray that did it? I thought it was like a
nah,
white kid that did that. Let me
nah.
see.
It
Okay,
was the lineman. It was the lineman who did it. The
okay,
D,
okay,
the one he was
yeah,
saying, like, that cornbread eating. He's not even
yeah,
a prospect. Um, and I think the thing too that you mentioned with Ray is the contrast in styles. You have,
hmm,
like, there's like most Steph said, there is no in between. We either or kings,
yeah,
or
yeah,
queens. So
yeah,
literally, you have the pre med light skin. So here comes the
yeah.
colorism and the dark.
With the Cosby sweatshirts on.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he couldn't have been
With the
more
Coogee sweaters on. Yeah.
more.
It's a very big stereotype. It is a
Yes.
real stereotype.
And
Yeah.
then at the same token, you compare and contrast that, juxtapose them, and it's like, really? And
Yeah.
then the thing that really, like, I don't know, I don't know if it was intentional or whatever have you, or the wardrobe stylist person was having a bad day. Christy Swanson, oversized coats with big shoulder pads.
Yeah.
Halle Berry, same
Oh
outfit.
man, Halle's stylist was not helping her in
They're
this.
looking very modish and looking
Yeah,
like
librarian. They look like
librarians.
librarian style. Yeah,
It's just like, what
yeah,
are you doing? And
yeah.
now I'm not saying that they have to be out there in bikinis. I'm not
No, no,
advocating
no,
that
no, no.
whatsoever.
But they look
But
like librarians.
they didn't look like college students. Is my point.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's a
yo,
better way of saying it.
the thing is that when you have these older people who are in their mid 20s playing high school students, you would think you'd use them to play college students, someone their actual age, grouping, demographic, et cetera, et cetera. That wasn't the case.
Yeah, yeah. Although Ice Cube did look like he was 35 in Higher
That,
Learning.
and that's
He
a
did not.
whole.
He did not look like he was a college student. By the way, yo, Omar Epps has been in Higher Learning and the program. I just
Yes.
remembered that, yo. He's like the college guy.
Well, the way I look at him is, if you watch House, he played football, went to higher learning, ran some track, and then he was like, you know what? I'm so scarred by this. I want to save lives so that I can redeem
Mm,
Deja, whatever have you.
mm.
And the same thing with a couple of these guys, Brick Hands. He's in unnecessary roughness. He's like, yo, we got to move you to a different position. He's like, yo, I'm going to hurt these people who used to ridicule me because I couldn't catch passes. So
Can't be
now,
linebacker.
linebacker.
So wait, I just want to go back and say that we've now identified that House and Higher Learning are in the same universe, and
Hey,
that the same guy is in there. And you gave a backstory. I like that. I
I'm
like
just
that.
saying.
That works. Yeah, I think though, to go back to like the colorism stuff in this and like the class, like Darnell is like squarely so different from Ray, right? They're even like physically different. Like
Yes.
Ray actually looks more like a college football running back
Mhm.
than Darnell does. But it's like, and then you got Halle Berry in the middle, and she's like kind of playing out a little bit of this something new payback to Ray because Ray cheated on her with a white girl. I like how she says she's with a white girl. Like, that's how she cheated. He cheated on him. It's just it's funny, but it's like those were things that I didn't even really remember the first time I watched it. Now I'm watching as a adult. I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize this whole
Yeah, no.
class colorism thing. Even with her dad, like even her dad has got
Some
like this
elitism. Like
class kind of thing with Darnell. And I like how Darnell flips it at the end. Like he kind of
he
wins out.
reminds me of what I used to be, what he used to
Exactly.
be, and he doesn't want you
Exactly.
back in that trap.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I like how I don't know if I like how they did it, but I like how they at least tried to get that to work that in.
Well, this is a movie that, at 1 minute admonishes the NCAA and all of his practices in college and college football, college sports for that matter. And then
Hmm.
at the same token, it's an attaboy, pat on the back, celebratory. Hey, look at the athletes and what they have to go through. The struggle is real. Let's get back in touch with the roots of why these individuals are indeed student athletes.
Yeah,
So, it's a lot going on. Like you mentioned, there's like 7 different stories,
there
arguably
is.
10 all at once.
Yeah, there is. It really is, man. Okay, let's jump into the cake, man. I know we started talking a little bit about that. I know you got a bunch of slices. I
Yeah.
got a bunch of slices as well, man. Go ahead, run it down for me, man.
Whew. So, man, I'm looking at this movie, and it'll be surprising for individuals to see how I actually feel about it. But some of the things I definitely love about this movie is that it was actually filmed in college campuses. So Duke, for example,
Yeah.
University of South
Hmm.
Carolina, specifically during games too, mind you. So when it looks like the camera's a little bit off, or the texture, or the graphics, if you will, it
Hmm.
appears a
I
little bit
know. Yeah, I noticed that.
sharper.
I noticed that when they did like the big kind of
Yeah,
stadium looks. Yeah.
that's during halftime of certain games, or during the
Right.
entrance into the field of the pregame and such. I love the fact that they were able to also give back to the community. So a lot of the outside businesses were used for some of the catering, for some of like the local people hanging out, et cetera, et cetera, the bar
That's dope.
scenes. So that was dope the way that they were able to give that back. Um, so I'm definitely big at that. Um, I love the fact that they it used NFL filmed cameramen. Like everybody knows NFL films.
Yeah, by the slow motion. Yeah, like yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Yep, yep,
you know
yep,
what I mean.
yep,
So,
yep.
so
Yes,
like that
yep.
gave it a little bit more authenticity,
Of
and
course. Yeah.
it also lent itself to, like, remember, these guys do want to go on to pro careers.
Hmm.
So perhaps we can see Darnell pulling an old man Willie Brown running it back. You know what I mean? Maybe they move him to a different position, whatever. But the fact is that those things harken to that. I love the fact of the one-liners by Joe Caan and Alvin Mack. Joe Cane's got the joint where he's like, put the women and children to bed and go looking for dinner. That just seems like some John Wayne, Clint Eastwood type stuff. Um, and that reminds me of my dad and the westerns and stuff. So I thought that was dope. Alvin's film study lines, they really hit hard. He's like, Eagle Zipper Hero. And some of the calls are like, wow, I remember hearing that outlandish stuff. He says, unless unless the setback shifts, this is where I'm going to be, and he's actually giving you a glimpse as to what they're looking at, what they're looking for.
Yeah.
But he goes on to say, Okie Thunder, and then he says, kill the quarterback. And the way he delivers the line.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect.
And then he says,
great scene.
He's like, all right, what do you do here? Hit the tight end so hard his girlfriend dies. You know how hard you got to hit somebody that it reverberates? And then finally he says, all right, and what about this one? He says, kill everybody. Yeah. And he says it so like matter of fact.
Yeah.
Like you feel like, yo, I might not come home.
It's a great scene. It's a great, and it also shows you that Alvin is smart.
Yes.
But he does not apply himself at all in school.
And I think that's like you said, there was a failure on the part of the teachers, because I don't blame the students. I blame the teachers for their inability to connect with him in a means in which he can learn. Science has proven that males, for example, are more jittery, rambunctious, and that's misconstrued, whereas their chemistry, puberty hasn't set in. Their prefrontal cortex hasn't fully developed. So therefore, you will see higher achievement scores from females at that age. Mm-hmm. So it's a different way of connecting with individuals, especially when this movie prides itself on the diversity and individuals coming from different backgrounds.
Yep.
And side note, you ever notice how any of the drama starts off? It's Alvin behind the scenes with his Machiavellian.
He stirs things up.
You know what I mean? So he's not dumb. You know what I mean?
It's not a question. Yeah, he stirs things up, and he's also like part of that with Darnell, kind of.
Yeah,
we're the dark skinned guys.
Yeah.
We're already sort of on the outside.
Yeah,
so we have to move differently, and even amongst the other Black people on the campus. So it's really interesting, like that.
Yeah, that dynamic. Yeah. What about you, man? What do you like about this play?
So I gotta say this one thing. When you said about the joint that Joe Caan says, it reminded me that when we were in high school, when we would end games, we'd have victory formation, right? Our call for victory formation came from the Raekwon and Ghostface, the purple tape. Came from criminology, right? So whenever we were closing out, we would the quarterback would say, "Sneakers stay jet black, floating in the flyest act," right? And that would be. Everybody knew, right? Everybody knew. And this is a mix of people, Black, white, Latino, everything.
And our quarterback was not that dude.
When we heard it, we were like, okay, it means victory formation. It means we won, and that's it. And that's what we call it. So it's just so funny that it just made me think of that.
Years earlier, though, that was not the call sign for victory for us.
It was not. It was not. But I thank you for reminding me of that. All right. On the cake side, I'd like the hurt versus injured thing. I heard that so much after that. Like coaches, everything. I always say, you hurt or you're injured. It was just, it's perfect. Like perfect college football thing. The welcome to the jungle playing in the beginning of training camp.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Because when you're a freshman in that situation, you thought you were playing football. And then in college, you're like, oh no, I didn't realize I was playing. It looks like a whole different game. So I love that. Just the way that was set up, beautifully done. I loved it. We talked about the pride and everything the night before the game stuff. I also want to say, the program teaches you how to date. If you watch the program, look, if you're a young man and you're trying to figure out how do I date, watch the program. What Darnell and Joe do, they ask a girl out, right? Then they take them to do something, and it's fun. They take them to ice skating, playing like tennis, like free stuff too. Right. Stuff that doesn't even cost money. Right. Doesn't cost money. They have a good time. At the end, they get kissed.
I don't know, CJ. You're sounding like a brokey.
It's when you're young, you're in college, you absolutely are. Learn from this. There's the blueprint. These dudes are letting you know this is how you do it. Ask somebody out, take them out to do something fun and cheap, and you win. So
CJ's not talking that red pill stuff. He's
shout,
talking that blue pill stuff.
shout outs to that, to like the way that it teaches you how to date, man. So
You're
yeah, that's what
dating
I got.
yourself, man. You're dating yourself.
That's what I got.
You actually
That's,
talking to women? What?
that's what I got. That's what I got in the cake, man. What about the things that you did not like as much?
Oh man, I had to narrow this joint down a little bit, man, because I could have went on a tangent. The grotesque scene of Latimer and
Oh,
Mac.
I hate that.
Yeah, I can't even.
I hate that. That's so. I hate that. I don't know why they put that in there.
And that was computer generated, but it was for sensationalism. I mean,
I hate
like
that. I
it,
hate
it,
that
it
scene.
plays into the narrative that these are two mindless brutes. It's
I hate that
archaic. It's animalistic. It's a ritual which they practice. I mean,
scene.
Latimer's going throughout the place, literally going through void rage and slamming
Yeah.
his head through
Yeah.
windows and all types of
Yeah.
craziness.
Yeah. Tell me you're on steroids
Yeah,
without saying I'm on steroids.
you know what I mean?
He's doing that. Yeah, I hated that scene too, man.
Which one of the things is a pet peeve about that going into that is Latimer barely plays the first 3 years. He's on the punt team.
Mhm.
All of a sudden he comes back 35 pounds of muscle in
Yeah.
a summer. That's
Yeah.
unheard of. You
Yeah.
and what's the response from Coach Winters, whose name, mind you, Winters, meaning like, hey, this is the dark times. You
Mhm.
know, there's nothing springing eternal. Everything is bleak here. He's like, this is what happens if you dedicate yourself over the
Yeah.
summer. What?
Yeah. If you attack the gym every
Are
day.
you
Yeah.
serious? I don't
No,
care
he
how.
he wasn't. He wasn't actually serious. He wasn't. That was the
Oh,
thing.
that's my point. Like, I'm going to test you myself. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you're really serious about it, then you would have him stay in your room or in your house or your apartment, and you ensure that, hey, he can't do the draw out the fake urine and then
Mm-hmm.
put in the urine or whatever have you. Talking about it's a one-stop oil place. So I didn't appreciate that, um, especially with him going on to call defensive plays where this is the guy you're relying upon to be the leader of your defense. What type of, you know, morals are we dealing with here? But I'm not surprised because this is a corrupt facility. Coach Winters looking into Latimer's eyes, knowing that he duped, and then all of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
he's crying at the end. Like, don't hate it, man. Like, you chose this life. Joe going to rehab for only what appears to be 4 weeks.
Yeah, they the alcoholism storyline. I see what they were trying to do. I agree. It wasn't executed well. That
Yeah,
was one of my things.
and he even mentions it. Coach Winters even mentions it. If you fight this, I lose you for the year. And that goes upon what you were saying earlier with respect to the balancing of doing moral things and then doing unethical things.
Everything is for the program.
You know what I mean? Like, ugh. Um, I'm definitely not cool with just the overall vibe that these players have when they're talking about their commitment level. It's like, yeah, I'm willing to dedicate my mind, body, and soul, but then I'm going to do things to jeopardize it. It's like selling drugs but being drunk. You can't do that like and think you're going to be effective if you're really about that life. I'm not encouraging it. I'm not telling you to do
Mhm.
it. I'm just saying that if you're in, then you got to be all the way in and you got to be on point. What you got?
A lot of the things that you said I had already. The only thing I would just add is I don't like that Alvin talking trash before a play starts. Like in real football, just you can't do that.
There's
Like
not enough time.
I don't. There's not enough time to create a narrative about why somebody did something to your family member in the middle of a play. You can't do that. And if the other team realized that you were going to do that, they would switch. They would shift players so that you couldn't fit in shit. So you might be sitting there like, "Yo, I remember you. You killed my mom," and they'd be like, "Switch," and he'd be like, "Wait, wait, wait, cover two, wait, rotate." You couldn't even get the story out, man. You couldn't have time to finish it. Like I hate that. Like and like the dudes running to be like, oh no, like no, that
Oh no,
you don't have time to do that. Like stop. That's
that's
I
hilarious.
just didn't like that. Like that's it. Everything else I was good with, man.
No,
Which is
I'm not cool with the pulling guard though, breaking his leg. That was a low hit. Like that was grimy. That was illegal.
yeah. Well,
We'd have to go see that dude.
you know, it's football. Anybody who plays football, look, everybody gets hurt.
Not like that.
Everybody, every single person who's ever played football got hurt.
I
Everybody.
do
No,
not.
I'm
like,
sorry. Everybody gets injured.
Yes, I was
I
gonna
think
say
everybody gets hurt. Everybody gets injured.
yes.
All right, questions. I know you got a rack of them. I got a rack of them. Let's
Yeah,
jump
man.
in. All right, speed round it. Go ahead, hit me with them.
You ESU plays Mississippi State, Michigan, Texas, Iowa, Georgia Tech, Boston College, and North Carolina. What division do they play?
Yo, great question. I wondered this when I was watching it. Where I've landed is that they are essentially Notre Dame. They're
Mmm.
the independent
Indeed.
team that picks who they play in their schedule.
Wow.
Just
With the,
like Notre Dame plays Michigan,
yeah,
USC, Navy, Florida State, Clemson. Same thing.
when they used to appear on NBC
They
and
still on NBC.
oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah. But that's what I think ESU is. I think they're like
And
Notre
they
Dame.
are. I thought they were Florida State because of the
That's what
color.
the color scheme is definitely supposed to be like Florida State. But that schedule,
Yeah,
that's what it made me think.
that's what messed me up.
Yeah.
How is Coach Winters able to coach the defense, offense, and special teams?
Because they didn't have enough money in the budget to give different coaches. So he had to do everything. That's all that is. Ain't no way that's happening.
Why did Joe intentionally sabotage the cohesiveness and the camaraderie? Was that intentional? And by the way, why does Darnell try to set him? I mean, why does Joe set Darnell up with Autumn? And how
Yeah.
did Joe not know that his own backfield mate, who's a senior, that was his girlfriend?
Well, Joe's an alcoholic. So I mean, like you have to remember that. Whenever you think about all his decision making has to be funneled through the fact that that's his problem. You can't hold it against him, man. He's an alcoholic. His decision making is not clear.
He's got questionable decision
His
making skills,
decision
even though
making
he's
is
a
questionable.
Heisman candidate at the
Yeah,
quarterback
even
position.
though, even still, even with that, yes, even with that.
Oh, he does drive a motorcycle during the season. Why wasn't a younger actor who could throw cast as Joe Kane?
I don't know. Joe Kane had to. I don't know.
And
He,
who would you cast it?
um, I don't. I don't know, man. I would have to think about who was popular at that time.
Mm.
I have no idea, but I know that. Oh, I got some jokes about that a little bit later. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. That's in my questions. We'll get to that
Okay, okay. Um, why wasn't Latimer suspended earlier?
because he was playing, because he was making plays, baby. Look good, play good. Come on. They ain't getting him off the field.
Okay,
That boy is giving people snot bubbles, man. He was out there doing his thing.
I think you're short.
He was doing his thing, man. Ain't
Oh,
nobody taking him up. First of all, they probably scared to take him off the field. He's gonna beat them up.
okay.
First of all.
Are sports inherently unethical due to their very nature, or are people flawed, or are they thrust into situations that call for them to make questionable decisions?
No, I mean, like it's about people, man. People are gonna. Some people, in a tight spot, that's where you see the integrity of people. Some people are gonna have more. Some people are gonna have less. There have been programs where really good players have been taken off the team for things
Hmm.
like that, right? There's been other times where people have been able to stay for doing the same or less.
Yeah,
Has a lot to do with the coaching staff. Has a lot to do with what the culture of the team looks like.
that's tough because it reminds me of that Jimmy Johnson joint where he says, essentially, I'm not going to treat Emmett Smith like this guy that I'm about to cut, and ends up cutting that guy.
Right, right.
Yeah, that's some cold blood stuff, but that's football for you. A last question for you then is, what happens to all that characters after they graduate or the season?
All right. So Joe is got another year left. I
Yep.
think he probably goes. He's gonna go back. I don't think he'll probably have the Heisman hype.
Mm,
Probably gets like third, fourth round draft pick. Maybe becomes a guy who's holding a clipboard. Probably, maybe even still stays with the tennis player, and they get married, have kids.
okay.
Darnell, I'm gonna
And
say
that's Camille.
okay. Come here. Darnell, I'm going to say he doesn't go to the NFL, but
Mm,
does graduate with his degree and becomes a teacher.
okay.
Also, and he doesn't end up with Halle Berry.
Oh, he does.
Does not.
Oh, does not.
No, she
Ooh.
eventually goes back with Ray because
What?
Ray makes more money. Next one. Who's next?
Cold blooded.
Who's next? Latimer goes to be a strength coach. He becomes a
Okay.
strength coach
okay.
at a college, not this one, but a different college. That's what he does.
Okay.
Alvin becomes a coach at ESU.
Mm,
He loves football. He knows it, and I think the school probably
I feel like they
feels
owe
like,
him something.
yeah, it feels like they owe him something.
I can see that.
I think that's everybody, right? That's all the main players.
I mean, Bud Kaminsky, the lineman, who's always
Oh,
there.
he probably goes to the NFL because you always need linemen.
Yeah.
If he's good, if he's a good tackle, he's going to be in the NFL. He probably ended up making more money than all of them.
Oh, and what about Ray?
Oh, Ray goes to be a doctor.
Oh, he
Ray
does. Oh,
absolutely,
you
yeah,
think?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he goes to be a doctor. He ends up marrying Halle Berry, and
Mm,
he's fine.
wow,
I got a
that's-
little side joint on the side. So probably still doing it.
okay. Okay. What
Shout
about
out,
you?
shout outs to Ray. Anyway, let's go to my questions. All right, mine are a little different. So, all right, a couple questions about this movie. First, how is Darnell able to stay in college for a whole semester while not being able to take one college class? This dude spends his whole semester practicing for an entry level test to decide if he's going to be in college.
Well, I look at it like being on academic probation. You
No,
know,
he doesn't even have grades to be on
no, no,
academic
no, no.
probation yet.
I'm saying that would be the equivalent because it's an entry level and they're there to help him adjust. So they justify it by he needs a transitioning phase. This is only for the first semester. Once he completes those courses, then next semester he's taking whatever. That's why they were on him so much. That's why he was really studying. And they
Really?
acknowledged we failed him in high school.
Okay. The whole. All right, fine.
No,
fine.
remember the
Fine.
priest. The priest says he's a little behind, and that they were
Nah,
like,
I dig it. I dig it. I'm just saying that like he spent a whole semester studying for a placement exam to figure out what college classes
college
he's
is
actually
real.
going to take. That's a lot. But okay, cool. You got. Hey, I had questions. You got answers. All right, next question. Is anything more depressing than putting beer cans on a Christmas tree?
Dude, tell me you don't have any feminine presence in your home by telling me you don't have any feminine presence.
Yo, what was that?
That
God,
tree
that was
looked weaker
depressing.
than the Charlie Brown joint, man. You know what I mean? Like,
It
oof.
really did. It really did.
Why
All
even
right.
put up a tree?
Right, exactly. Except to make it more depressing. All right. Next. Why did Joe Kane comb his hair to look like Eddie Munster?
Because he's 33 years old and he doesn't have a hairline. So he's just
All right.
glad he's glad to have that.
Okay. All right. I got my last two. My last two are about Darnell. At the end of the movie, why is Darnell celebrating being eligible to be a college student?
Because like he told you, he's glad he's not a statistic, dead or in jail.
I know. I mean, it's such a stereotype. Gosh, it's a
See what
stereotype.
I'm saying? Like it's so
Omar Epps did so much with this because that's terrible, man. This is like every black stereotype that you could possibly imagine.
the
They put
country
it on one
bumpkin, the
character.
illiterate. No, they split it up amongst three of them. One is
That's
so far
crazy, right?
so
Is this a hate
preposterous.
crime movie? Is this where this is, man? Now that we're thinking about it,
Well, I mean,
I'm
think
not
of,
sure, but
he didn't really do the females that good of a service either. I
no, no
mean,
one looks good in this movie.
they
But
he made them look homely and dumbed it down. You know, one of them was supposed to be a star athlete. You never really see her in a game or anything like that in a match.
they could
Halle,
read though.
hey,
All right, wait. I got one last one about Darnell. Red. Why is Darnell mad about being a side dude?
because he doesn't like to share. I don't know call me selfish. I don't know.
Wait a second. So he's there. Halle Berry is straight with him. She says, "Look, I'm with Ray. What you gonna do?" And he's like, "No, I want to be with you. I just want it to be the two of us." You sound stupid, sir. You're 17. This woman is like 21, man. She on her way out. She's trying to give you a shot, man. Just enjoy the ride. What are you doing, brother? Come on.
Because it's
Somebody should have told him that. You sound crazy right now.
autumn. I've seen bad things since I was 12, so I know when I see something worthwhile.
Yeah, that's talk.
Just
That's from
tell
the
you
Simpsons.
that's his.
That's
That's the
Simpsons talk.
Simpsons.
That's Simpsons talk.
That's that
Anyway,
red pill, folks.
that's
We got,
crazy to me.
we got,
Anyway,
we
all
got
right.
everything.
That's what I got for questions. Boxes of popcorn. What you got on it?
Easily. I was looking at 3, but CJ convinced me now to boost it up to 4.
I'm gonna give it 4 also. I like the movie. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. It might
No,
be
not at
racist,
all.
but but it's good. It's fun. It's entertaining, and I enjoyed it, man.
I think that's all you can ask for, really. Anything else
Right. If you're
is
gonna
like
watch a
icing.
movie, right, let it be entertaining at least. At
Yeah.
least. Okay.
Everything else is cherry on top.
How about that? And now for our cherry on top, what's up with this closing, man?
Yes, sir. The program celebrates big time college football at the same time it attacks it. The storyline addresses classism and tribalism as the team navigates through compromising situations such as cheating scandals and substance abuse under a coach who seemingly turns a blind eye. Leadership and progression are put to the test as the team drives for a resurgence despite the myriad of personal and collective challenges they face. The transition period highlights the complexities of the succession within the team, echoing the broader societal issues at play. Ultimately, the program underscores the rigorous demands and ethical quandaries inherent in college sports, making it a potent commentary on the sacrifices and commitments required to succeed in such a high stakes environment.
There it is, man. There it is, man. So look, we hope that you've enjoyed this breakdown of 1993's The Program.
Woo!
Next week, we will be back to talk about the movie Dark Waters. So we're going to try to have fun with that extremely serious subject movie.
Yes.
Once again, the Sticky Floors podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. We are available on Apple Podcasts. We are available on Spotify. We're also available on YouTube. We are trying to grow our YouTube page. So as Mr. Will said earlier, and I'm saying now, please like and subscribe because that helps us to grow our channel and affect these algorithms in a positive way. Please tune in next week. We promise we're going to have a good time breaking down these movies. Peace.